Hello there, and welcome to the Sacred Knowledge Living Podcast. My name is Paul,
And my name is Rhea.
and we are so happy to be with you today, and we really appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us. Today, we're going to be talking about one of the most interesting and most requested subjects, and that is, of course, manifestation.
Manifesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So all about manifesting, all about manifestations, law of attraction, and even the practical physiological aspect of how do we actually manifest. So
I'm excited about this because I'm a big manifester.
you are.
And so are you.
You are in both experience and practice, like a huge manifester. And so because you're so effective at it, I thought it would be a good topic for us to talk about both on the spiritual plane and also like physiologically, what's going on in our body and our brain when we engage in doing something like manifestation, and how does it actually work on these multitude of levels.
I'm excited, and I just wanted to mention that each and every one of us are manifestors. We all have this power. It's not something that is only limited to a select few. It's in each and every one of us.
I agree 100%. It's one of those things where the more you practice doing it, the better you get at it, because once you start finding your rhythm with it and you start seeing the results, that consistency is like a self-reinforcing feedback loop.
Yeah.
So it's like the more you do it, the better you get at it.
And it's not that hard. It's not overcomplicated. It's very simple. And I feel sometimes when we're trying to manifest, some of us, we put too much weight on the actual part of the manifestation, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's super complex. It
No.
can be, if you're inexperienced, it can be difficult. Just like if someone just handed you a guitar and said, play me some music. If you have no experience, you'd be like, bling, blonk. But if you practiced enough,
Yes.
eventually you'd be like, dra, dra, dra. So kind of like that, like at the beginning, it probably does feel hard.
Yeah.
But once you've gone through the process, seen the results, and repeated that a number of times, then you recognize the beauty of the simplicity of manifestation.
That's right. Thank you. I'm kind of like, oh, I forgot about, when you first start, because I'm just a natural manifester, right? So
Exactly. And so everyone can do it,
yeah.
but some people do have a natural gift, like those people who, if you handed them a guitar and they've never played before, and somehow 1 in a million,
They just start
they
playing a
just
guitar.
are like a savant. And you're like, how? And they're like, I've never even played before. And you're just like, okay.
Is there actually anyone that's ever done that?
I think there's definitely people that have, you would call it beginner's luck, beginner's skill, but it can be just like a natural inclination. It might have been somebody that listened to the music so much and visualized themselves playing.
Yeah.
And so they were doing practicing in their
And
head.
they're just able to kind of visualize it and kind of, I totally get that. I've seen that actually.
Right? Like somebody who's really good at singing, but they're like, I never actually sang before, and it just turns out I'm super awesome at it.
Yeah. Just with a little bit of guidance, just a little direction, and it's all of a sudden.
And that's the thing with any skill,
Yeah.
the development of that skill is just effort, try, make mistakes, learn, do it again, right? And I was watching a video yesterday of a musician named Devin Townsend. He's talking about how if you really want to be an artist in any vocation, you have to commit to sucking at the beginning.
That's
You
right.
have to recognize that everything you do at the beginning is the learning process. And so there's an enormous amount of vulnerability that comes with putting yourself out there, especially in the beginning stages when you're still learning the thing, because you're not going to be the best at your craft, right?
And it's scary when you first do that because of, all the things that we think in our head about the judgments that we are going to experience and, all of that fear.
It's true. It paralyzes a lot of people because they get so outside of themselves that they think, oh my God, what are people going to think? They're going to think this is terrible, or why am I wasting my time? But the good thing is if you can be like, you know what? I am going to kind of suck at the beginning, but that's okay. Because the only way to get better is to suck at first.
Yeah. And that's okay.
It's just part of the
Yeah.
process. So all of that to say in the context of being an artist, but also manifesting itself is kind of an art, right? It's a thing you have to learn, you have to develop the skill and the experience. And so what we're hoping to do today is break down the three steps, the three major steps of the law of attraction, of manifestation, and try and define those terms, because law of attraction kind of came in the last 20 years as this like popular term, but manifestation has been around for centuries.
For many, many years.
The idea of just like what you will can come into reality. And so let's start with the spiritual aspect, which is the law of attraction. I know I first became aware of that as a concept watching that movie The Secret around 2006. What about you?
I think I was around the same time. I knew that manifestation, like I knew that, I didn't know it was called manifestation. I guess that's what it was being younger, but I knew that if I desired something, I can will it into existence.
Like concentrating on it.
Concentrating on it was like I don't even know how to describe it, but yeah. And then The Secret, just like yourself, when I watched that, it all made sense of what was happening.
Because they took the time in the movie to try and break it down and describe.
That's right.
But even though they made that effort in the movie, I was still kind of confused, because they were describing like the results. They're like, hey, if you want a parking spot, just like visualize it and boom, you'll find the parking spot. Or if you want this kind of car or this kind of thing. But it seemed so focused around things. Like
the possibilities around it, but not the actual process.
Yeah, well, not only the possibilities, but it seemed more on a materialistic sort of side, right? It wasn't talking about like, hey, I want to attract these experiences or maybe this partner, unless it's been years since I watched the movie, so maybe I'm wrong. But it definitely didn't break down the process and like the exact, call them technicalities, methodologies, which is what we hope to break down in this podcast. So stay tuned for that. We're going to go through the three very specific steps, and I think that's going to be fascinating. But on the spiritual side, I really did believe that it was more about putting a vibration, a wavelength, a radio signal from my brain, from my heart chakra, out into the world.
An energy that you're emitting out into the world.
Right? Yeah. And that would somehow be received somewhere and then reciprocated back, so that if I came at it with like good intentions, pure intentions, honorable intentions, then that like increased the likelihood of that being reciprocated back. And so I started to recognize the parallels between prayer, from my more religious days, to this idea of manifesting through, okay, I'm thinking about the thing that I want or that I want to happen, and then I'm putting out this signal of like, I really hope this happens to the universe or God.
Yeah.
And then through, the machinations of the universe shifting for you, or God putting you on the plan, or however you want to interpret it, eventually, at some point, you come to a place where that thing appears, or the path to get to that thing or that experience appears, and you start walking it, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is actually turning out the way I hoped. So what kind of experiences have you had with manifesting, where you were pleasantly surprised or almost shocked that how it happened?
There's so many.
Very precisely, or how quickly it happened?
For me, it was since I was young. Like I draw something. If I wanted something, I would draw it and say, you know what, this is what I would like to have in my life. Whether it was like a pony when I was younger, or, a person even. So I draw and it would appear after like a little bit of time. So I knew that the world was magical, right? I had this idea of it, but I didn't know how to explain it. But that was my first experience, was from being younger and seeing that whatever I was able to put my energy into, it just come in. I didn't know what it was called, or didn't know how to explain it, but
it's like having a feeling or an emotion that you just don't have a label for yet.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to figure out what does this mean to me, or how does this work? And so I kind of had similar journeys around the early to mid 2000s where I was experiencing a lot of synchronicities, and without even really knowing what is a synchronicity, I was just like, oh, these weird coincidences keep stacking up.
Yeah.
And it's very strange. And the more I focus on the opportunities that came from those coincidences, the more I started to realize there was this sense of divinity or some kind of like machinations behind the scenes. It felt like that were moving chess pieces for my life, for my benefit. And so when I saw The Secret, a lot of it clicked, but not the active part. Because in The Secret, the one thing they tell you to do is to lead with gratitude, right? The attitude of gratitude.
The attitude of gratitude, yeah.
And so when you're like visualizing your manifestation, you're supposed to be projecting the future gratitude that you'll have. And
when you're in that moment.
Yeah, when you're in that moment, receiving the thing when it finally happens. And you're trying to like map that gratitude of the future back to the now. So you feel it now, which then connects those two moments and creates this like linear path.
I feel it's something that happens when you're connecting to that energy and trying to pull it back is a split second from when I've ever experienced it. So I visualize something, or, you know, if I want to enjoy something in my life and I'm seeing it in my mind, I've for a split second felt that energy, and the minute that I have, now it's a reality.
It like guarantees that it's a reality.
For me,
you had
that's
that
how
taste.
I feel. Like it's like, oh, I saw it now. I know that it exists. And I feel I don't know. I feel sometimes we're told, or we have this idea that we have to sit for a while in that energy and kind of, you know, even in the beginning when I was first trying to understand it, when I understood what it was called and what it was, then I wanted to get more into it. Like, oh, what can I manifest? And because I knew I was putting too much pressure on myself.
Of course.
And then nothing's happening, right? Anyways, I don't even know where I was going with this, but it's, it's that split second, because, you know, when we're told online by different kinds of people, be in that moment. And I remember going out and starting to shop because I'm like, I'm going to have lots of money. And I went out shopping and spending money I didn't have. And that's not what it means. Do you know what it...
Oh yeah, that's not what it means. It's not like get a credit card, get everything you want. Now you've manifested it, except you've also manifested a huge amount of debt.
Yes.
That's not...
I've done that in my life when I've overthought it, right?
Yeah. Well, so that's why I kind of played up with The Secret, was more of this sort of materialistic aspect where it was like you want the things. And I would argue that, don't get me wrong, material things, they do have importance in a lot of people's lives, in our lives as well. But experiences and connections to me are more important.
Yes.
Like in terms of fulfillment, you can have all the things, but if you don't have connection, if you don't have experiences that are fulfilling, or relationships that are fulfilling, all those things start to feel pretty meaningless because there's no one to share them with.
Exactly.
So that's where in our last episode we talked about manifesting each other.
That's right.
Right, through having a list. And so if you understand the spiritual component of law of attraction and manifesting, that's wonderful. If you are able to visualize the energy or a thread of intention that gets you to that destination, that's a powerful tool just in and of itself. But over the years, I got really interested in, is there like a physical aspect to what's going on inside our bodies, inside our brains, when we engage in this action of trying to manifest. And it might have been Mel Robbins or someone I was watching who talked about that term, Reticular Activating System.
Yeah, that's like, yes, that was her. I've been watching her quite a bit lately.
Yeah,
I love her stuff.
She knows some good stuff.
Yeah,
and she's able to frame everything in a very understandable and very practical way.
Yeah.
So shout out Mel Robbins.
Yes.
But when she said Reticular Activating System, I was like, what is that? So I started looking that up, and I realized how that ties into manifestation. And so this, everyone, is the 3-step process
to manifest.
It starts with knowing what you want, whether it's a thing, an experience, a connection, a relationship. What are you visualizing?
Yeah.
When you close your eyes and go inside your mind's eye, what are you actually seeing there that makes you go, yes, okay. And
is it coming from a place that is from your heart, right? Is it something, I mean, it could be anything.
yeah, you don't want to be like, I just saw this commercial and was sold an idea and now I want to manifest that idea, because then it's not really your thing, right?
Yeah.
From the heart, I think, is like what
I truly
yeah.
desire to experience in my life? Not the boat, not the car, right? It's nice to enjoy those things. There's nothing wrong with desiring that. But
And people do manifest those things.
They do manifest them. It's manifestation is real. It's like, but why? What is the reason and the purpose of you having that? It could be just for you just to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel always
like if you long to be out on the sea and
Yeah.
smell the ocean air and go fishing and all these things, well then, yeah, manifesting a boat is going to like fulfill all of those things. So then that makes sense that your heart is like, I need this tool. Or like myself as a storyteller, as a filmmaker, I want to manifest the best camera and lighting and sound gear.
Yeah.
Not because I want those things, but because I want the ability to tell stories at a high level.
Yes.
And those just happen to be the tools. It'd be like if you were a carpenter and just wanted a super awesome hammer and chop saw and skill saw and all those, you just, because you're visualizing the house that you want to build, but you need these tools.
Yes.
So
exactly.
Visualization, I don't know if it's the most important step.
I feel it's important. For me, I feel it's important, but I mean, a lot of people, I don't know how you manifest this through visualization and other, but I feel it's important.
Yeah. I mean, it's the starting place, but at the root of knowing what you want is knowing who you are.
That's right.
So you have to know thyself
before,
right?
before anything can happen.
Effectively, at least.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead.
And manifestation works both ways. So that's the other thing I wanted to mention, because we're all manifestors. Even unintentionally, we're manifesting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that goes back to the spiritual component, which ties into the physiological component, which is if you're focusing on like horrible things happening to you all the time, this is where the idea of the victim mentality can be self-defeating, is because the victim mentality is like expecting only bad things to happen because like the world is against you, right? And so if you're only expecting bad things to happen, well then you're going to be avoiding any opportunities for good things to happen because of the self-fulfilling prophecy of like, hey, my life is terrible and only bad things happen. And so anytime a good thing's about to happen, you'll walk to avoid that good thing to be correct.
And it's because they're wearing a filter now, because it's changed the reticular activating system, which we're talking about now. So we'll just get into that.
Sure.
Right.
But it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It changes your perspective, right? How you see things. It's the filter. You could call it a bias filter, a confirmation filter, but it's something our brain does because we create expectations for ourselves, and we tend to drift towards those expectations. So it's kind of like, say you've had like a run of bad luck during the day, and you've had like 5 bad things happen to you, and you go, what else can go wrong?
I'm having the worst day ever.
Yeah. And just asking what else can go wrong, the universe is like, well, let me show you.
Exactly.
Because you asked, right? And that's a choice in that moment to be like, what else can go wrong? Because now you've created the expectation that just your day is going to just be super crappy. Whereas if you stop in that moment where the 5th bad thing happened and go, okay, joke's on me, I get it, but let's turn this stuff around. Let's flip the switch, right? And you're creating the expectation that it's like you've paid the karmic debt or whatever for those 5 bad things. Like, hey, enough's enough. I'm committed to making the rest of my day the opposite of how it's been. Yeah. Well, just that perspective shift is going to...
And that's what it is a perspective shift. It doesn't mean that your external experience is going to magically change. It just means that your perspective allows you to show up differently in the experience.
Instead of only seeing the shadow side of the coin, you're going to move over here and see the light side of the coin.
Yeah.
And decide, because that's where free will comes from. It's your choice. After the reaction that happens, the emotional reaction that happens in any situation which we can't control, comes the spot where you can respond to that emotional reaction.
Yeah.
That's where your actual choice comes in.
You just take a few deep breaths
And go, okay,
all right.
now that I'm thinking straight, what should I actually, how should I actually feel about this? Should I hold on to that emotion I just felt? Should I let it go? Should I take some constructive action? Should I take more deep breaths? Like, that ability to check in with yourself is immensely powerful.
And just that ability to even just do that sometimes is really hard in the moment when we're first starting to do it, right? So it's something that needs practice.
Just like exercise, it's one of those practices that the more effort you make to do it, the better your results are going to be. So visualizing, we both found, other than sitting and like using your mind's eye to imagine that scenario, imagine that thing or that experience or that connection, making lists, like writing down what you want to visualize as a method of focus is enormously helpful.
Yeah. And you don't have to sit and meditate and visualize. Sometimes I'll be sitting and doing something creative, and all of a sudden I'll start daydreaming or thinking about something, and I'll get a visualization in my mind. And right in that split second, I'm like, there it is. Right?
It can come to you at any time.
Yeah.
But if you set aside time to focus on it, I mean, it can be hit or miss. It's like, I want to be creative now. Okay. Some people can be creative on command, but other people, they have to slip into that mode, that flow state. So a lot of people like to visualize while they're in the shower. They like to visualize while they're driving, like going into their mind's eye. Any kind of like automatic behavior that's something you've done hundreds of times.
That's usually where you can.
A lot of times, you're that part of your mind is occupied with the task. So all you're left with is the creative part or the visualizing part that you can connect with in that moment. And then you'll suddenly be super tapped in and have whatever visualization come to you. And it's like grasping onto something or lassoing onto it and then being like, okay, this is the thing. And you'll know if you're locked in, like Rhea said, if you get that feeling, if you have a taste of what the feeling of accomplishing that manifestation, if you get a hint of it and you can feel it in your heart, you can feel it. Sometimes it gives you like shivers or goosebumps or whatever.
I get super excited. I get inspired.
But it's a definite feeling. It's a quantifiable
feeling. A feeling. Yeah.
And so that's a signal that you've now locked the radio station in. And it's like, boom. Okay, now you've completed the first step. Yeah. You have visualized. You now have it locked in. We can move on to the next step. And do you have any notes on visualization before we move on to the next step?
Not visualization, but the word autopilot. I feel a lot of our life we are on autopilot, and manifestation really is us stepping out of autopilot for a moment and getting out of that habit or routine that we're in to focus on what we're actually wanting to create. Right? So I don't know. That's just what I feel the autopilot part, because it's really good to be on autopilot. Certain things when you're driving and stuff like that. I've had moments where I've driven home and I'm like, I don't even remember driving home. Right? But I was in my mind and had all these ideas and inspiration. And the minute I got home, I ran home and wrote it all down. Right? And
that's actually a phenomenon I think a lot of people can relate to. You're occupying your mind on autopilot with the driving task or whatever. But suddenly all these things can come to you.
Downloads.
Right? All these intuitive downloads. And I mean, living life on autopilot, I think people get comfortable.
Yeah.
And then they don't think to yearn for something outside of that comfort.
And sometimes you do yearn for it, but you're just so comfortable.
Yeah. You're like, oh, but I've made so much effort to get this level of comfort. I just want to stay in it.
I don't want to put extra effort.
Which is fine, but there's no growth in the comfort zone.
Yeah.
Just like there's no comfort in the growth zone.
I was just going to ask you to say that. I was like, say that line, you say it.
So, visualization is important. You have to come up with a way for yourself to visualize effectively, whether it's a visualization meditation or doing an automatic behavior that frees up your mind for the flow state to access that visualization, or making a list, making a drawing, making an audio recording, something, even an intention candle.
Yeah.
Like we've done that.
I love those.
But the point is to visualize the intention that you want to attract, right? Of the thing, the person, the object, the experience, the connection, whatever it is, you do it with intention, and you want that intention to be coming from a good, heart-centered, honorable place. Not like, I want $1 million so that I can be king of this place. You know what I mean? Like if it's a selfish, greedy
it
kind of
doesn't, that's
manifestation,
not where you manifest from.
You might get it, but it's going to be a dark path.
You still manifest it. It's just, how does it manifest? It's almost like you're signing your soul to the devil.
Yeah. And I don't think that's anything anybody's setting out to want to do.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of like, if you can keep your intentions and your visualizations coming from a good place.
Loving place.
Good is as subjective as it is. I think we all have an innate sense of what is decent and good versus what is like grimy and selfish.
And back to the setting intention part.
Yeah.
The reason I do a lot of lighting candles to set my intentions, and the only reason I do that is because it's quick and easy, and it gives you that 1 or 2 minutes of you visualizing and actually doing the act of putting that intention into that flame and then allowing it to move into the universe. And for me personally, I feel even we do it together, it works amazing, right? And
yeah, we've also done visualizations in bodies of ocean water.
Yes, in Hawaii, yeah.
Right? Like there's so many approaches that you can take to visualization, but what's important is to cultivate some kind of approach. And that's why we're saying, like, when you practice, sometimes practicing involves like trying a different approach and seeing if it's more effective.
Yeah.
Because you can try 5 different approaches and only 2 of them work great for you. Perfect. You found your 2 best approaches. And out of those 2, maybe one is like top notch.
Yeah.
But you don't want to give up. Like, just because one approach doesn't work, you don't want to be like, well, this all manifestation is not real.
And it's unique to you. So what do you feel you need to do to set an intention and manifest? That's all there is to it, really.
Yeah. So definitely think about the intention that you're putting out there, because that's going to be at the root of the manifestation. So, visualization, but the visualization with those key conditions of goodness and heart-centeredness and
the highest good of all.
The highest good of all, it doesn't get more honorable than that. So once you've effectively visualized, you've locked on target, you know exactly what it is that you're setting out, that you intend to see be created into the world. That's when your reticular activating system in your brain gets to work, and that governs motivation and inspiration. But it also does this amazing thing where experiences and events and opportunities that might have passed you by in the past, that might have gone by unnoticed because you hadn't visualized before, suddenly the ones that are relevant to what you're trying to visualize, they stick out. It's like they have a shiny bow on them, and you're like, wait, that's an opportunity I wouldn't have noticed if I hadn't visualized.
So when you set that intention, you're basically taking information. It's like your conscious mind, which is the bouncer before you go into the subconscious. That intention, you basically set it so it's gone past your conscious mind to your subconscious, which is now turned on the bloodhound or the radar system. It's like a Terminator
that's scanning the horizon, being like, where are the opportunities?
Which is allowing you now, because now your brain's like, okay, this is what I need to look out for. And now you're able to go in and like look out.
I look at your reticular activating system as like a targeting system. So your targeting system has to be calibrated for what it's actually looking for.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a visualization, if you don't have an intention for what you want, like just a goal, just a simple goal, well, then you're not going to notice opportunities or people or events that would lead you to that goal.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're not relevant. if something's relevant, your brain's just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But as soon as you program your subconscious, like, hey, be on the lookout for this event or this kind of person.
Or a red car, and all of a sudden you start to see red cars everywhere.
That's right. You will start to notice it at the forefront.
Yeah.
And so this is where this goes back to the simplicity of just like holding a visualization in your mind is just programming your brain and your spirit to be on the lookout for things that will lead you to that. And it seems so quaint and simple, but it's like if you don't take the time to do that visualization, how is your brain or your spirit going to know to look for those relevant opportunities?
And right now, if you were to look around you, you'll see a lot of many things that you probably didn't notice before I asked you to look around. Like, for example, what's all in this room right now that we're not focusing on, right? So what happens is, again, the reticular activating system turns on other parts of our lookout system, right? That allows you to see the things that, again, you weren't seeing because they're now
relevant.
They're relevant.
Relevancy is so important.
I'm repeating what you said.
Well, no, but in your own way, right?
Yeah.
It's like something has to matter. That, you know, the whole idea of like energy or matter is just energy condensed into a slow vibration, right? Well, when something matters to you, when it has importance, you notice things around it. Like the phenomenon you said. If you buy a red car, you're suddenly going to notice all the other red cars that are around there.
Yeah.
Which you wouldn't have noticed before. They were there. The red cars were all there the whole time. But it wasn't until you owned your own red car that you're like, hey, there's so many other red cars around.
Everybody has a red car. I didn't even notice that before.
Because you're noticing.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's relevant and important to you now. Okay. So I want to come up with good examples for visualizing, but like a real simple one would be like if you're single and you're trying to manifest a partner, right? Now, you might have just noticed people and single people in the past, but now if you've made a list and maybe do some guided meditations on the look of what you're expecting your partner or the qualities, let's say, now when you're looking at single people, you're going to notice who has those qualities and who doesn't because you've taken the time to train your brain.
And the other thing is, because you're wanting to partner up, you might be seeing couples, and that sometimes is like, what is going on? I wish I had that relationship. You know, how sometimes
but you're being given examples.
You're being given examples. Exactly. It's not there to deter you or make you feel a certain way. It's just showing you that you're in this vibration and energy.
Yes. And if you are feeling a certain way, a lot of times that's an indicator of where you're at on your own spiritual process or progress, right? So if you're looking at other couples and being like, I'm jealous of that. I wish I had that. That can actually be motivating and encouraging to like better yourself, to like, you know, take care of yourself a little bit more to increase your own attractiveness.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at that couple and being like, I don't have what they have, so they shouldn't have what they have.
Yeah, or feeling a certain way about it. That doesn't feel good.
No, that's envy, which is like not a healthy emotion. That's an indicator to yourself like, oh, okay, maybe I am coming at this from a totally ill perspective.
Yeah, instead it should be like, I can also have that.
Yes. That's like positive jealousy.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's, you look at that and go, I could have something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm capable of doing that. All right, and so we're back. We had a little technical snafu, but I believe we were talking about the differences between jealousy as from a healthy perspective and then envy, which is definitely about depriving others. So, and I think that was in the context of like where you're focusing on with examples, when you're seeing examples in the world, because we were talking about, you know, if you buy a red car, you notice all the red cars everywhere, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times if you get into a relationship, you notice everyone else in relationships. And if you're single, you notice lots of other single people.
Yeah.
So programming the relevancy of whatever your desired manifestation is, whatever that goal that you're seeking, the visualization is like the blueprints for what you want, right? Your reticular activating system is like going, okay, now that I have the blueprints mapped out, what building materials do I need to actually build the house?
Yes.
And then looking for opportunities. Oh, hey, this guy's selling these like 500 bay windows for like 20% off. That's a good opportunity to bring my manifested house into existence more efficiently.
Right.
Whereas if you hadn't visualized the house, if you didn't have the blueprint, someone selling a deal on windows, it's not going to be relevant to you. You would ignore that. So,
and there's examples of, say, for example, you didn't want to go somewhere and then you end up going there and you talk to somebody and an opportunity comes up, right? I've seen these kinds of things happen in people's lives as well, right? So sometimes opportunities show up and you're not feeling it, and then you're kind of feeling it, and then you do the thing and you're open to receive, to have a conversation with someone that you normally wouldn't have, and that leads to a door opening, right?
Or just a chance meeting. I'll never forget. It was probably the year 2000.
Yeah.
My friends and I. It was St. Patrick's Day, March 17th.
Okay.
And my friends they wanted to go do something for St. Patty's Day, and I felt this weird, I was 20, 21 years old. I felt this weird calling to go to this particular Irish pub in Port Moody.
Yeah.
And had never been there before. And we show up, the parking lot's completely packed. There's a huge lineup. And my friends are like, "No, we're not doing this." And I'm like, "Guys, we got to stay here." I felt completely compelled by something outside of myself.
Wow.
And so we go in the lineup, and my friends are complaining, and I'm like, "It's gonna be okay, guys." And as soon as I said that, somebody from in the pub starts going down the lineup handing out free wings to everyone.
Oh, no way.
My friend's like, "Oh, free wings. Okay." So that calmed them down. The lineup starts moving pretty fast. We get in pretty quickly. And then inside the pub, which is just jam-packed, I met my friend Prem, who ended up being my roommate 6 months later. Completely chance meeting. We met for the first time. We hit it off. We turned out to be great friends. And we hung out for maybe a month and then lost touch. And then 6 months later, she called me saying, "Hey, I'm living in a place in East Van, and our roommate just bailed on us. Are you looking for a place to stay?" And I had just moved back home for a few months because my roommate had skipped out on me, and I had to leave my apartment. So this like synchronicity of like this random thing led to someone 6 months later, someone who it wasn't relevant to me, but because I had talked about having moved back home, she thought of me when their roommate bailed. And so that was an opportunity, and I moved to East Vancouver for the first time, and that completely changed my life because Prem's boyfriend at the time was part of this group that were throwing concerts, and we're going to get into doing producing albums, and they ended up hiring me to be a camera guy.
Oh, wow.
When I had never done camera work before. So meeting her and that chance thing at the Irish pub led to my first gig as a camera guy and kicked off my editing career, my filming career, all these things that would never have happened if I hadn't felt compelled, strangely compelled, irrationally compelled to go to this Irish pub that was packed with my friends and force them to come with me when they were all resisting and being like, "No, what, like, why are we doing this?"
Yeah.
I'm just like, "It's a feeling, guys." And they're like, "You want us to do something based on a feeling?"
Yeah, sometimes you can't even explain that kind of stuff, right? And
isn't that wild?
It is wild.
Just how one thing leads to another, and you don't even have necessarily the visualized intention, but you just have the openness to something good coming from the experience.
Yeah. And you had set an intention to be in that experience, to experience that thing that happened after.
Yes.
Right? So how long was that before everything started to happen? Because it feels like the universe was already putting things together, which you realized after that, oh, had I not met this person that night because of this feeling, it wouldn't have led to
where it is, right?
Yeah.
And where I am today is because, so you start being able to retroactively look at your life and go, wait, if that hadn't happened, then all these other things wouldn't have happened, which wouldn't have caused this to happen, which wouldn't have led me here, right? And so it's just, to me, that it's like a wild chain of synchronicities or chain of coincidences, which you are revealed as synchronicities. And so even at that time, I knew I had a strong desire to get into film and editing. And somehow visualizing that led to this chain of events, which led me to doing that. And
You were manifesting.
it's like manifesting without knowing that I'm manifesting.
But you're open.
Well, that's the other important part is your reticular
Yeah.
activating system is kind of opening you up to seeing the possibilities that if you were closed off,
Or feeling the possibilities.
yeah, or feeling the possibilities. Whereas if you were closed off, you're not going to recognize those things.
Yeah.
You're going to ignore them because they're not relevant to you. You're like, this isn't important to me. Who cares about meeting this person? Who cares about going to this party?
And it's sometimes not even about ignoring it. It's just not recognizing it when it's like right in your face.
Yeah. Well, that's the
Right?
definition of ignorance is
Yeah.
like not recognize, like not seeing something that's right in your face because you're at some point ignorance becomes willful,
Yeah.
right? And it's so the more relevant something is to you, the less ignorant about it that you'll be.
Yeah.
And that's a good state to be in is the, like we're all striving to be less naive, less ignorant. And so doing that visualization, getting that setting that goal in your mind allows your reticular activating system to do its thing
Yeah.
and start targeting opportunities, recognizing those opportunities. And then what's the third most
Important
yet one of the most important steps, but the one that a lot of people forget to do
is the action.
Yes. Taking action. If you see an opportunity, if you see those windows are on sale, if you see that red car over there or that girl that you like's at the party.
Or if you feel something or sense something and it doesn't make sense, but you're feeling this urge, you're compelled.
It's an action step,
Yeah.
right? If you don't take action, it's like, I want to win the lottery, but I'm never going to buy a ticket. How is it going to happen then?
You have to be in it to win it.
So if you design the house and you buy the materials for the house, you got to build the house.
Yep.
It doesn't elves don't come in the night and build the house for us, although that would be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
That's the action step that we have to take, right? We have to go put ourselves out there. If we want to connect with someone, we got to go to that event. If we want to make that relationship, or if we want to earn something to have a vacation or something, we got to do that side hustle.
And then, if you're applying for a job and some sort of an opportunity comes up and you've been looking for something and then this opportunity shows up and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. When you sometimes go through that, like, I'm so confused, I don't know what to do. For me, it's like, oh my God, this opportunity just came up. I usually just jump on something like that, right? But sometimes there's fear around that. Sometimes we are like, okay, these things are happening. We're seeing them, but there's something.
Well, analysis paralysis.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
I think if your reticular activating system is seeing lots of opportunities, but you're seeing too many opportunities, which does happen.
Yeah,
like,
it does happen.
Which choice do I make? Which one do I pick? What if I pick the wrong one? What if this turns out to be better later? And this is a real problem for some people is that they manifest so strongly that they actually get up more options than they expected. And now there you go. I don't know which one to choose because I don't want to choose the wrong one. And so you get analysis paralysis.
Yeah, that happens.
And so you kind of just have to muscle through that and go, you know what? I'm going to commit to the thing that aligns the most with my original vision. And if it turns out not to be the correct choice, well, then I have that information to carry myself and grow forward.
Exactly. Right? I feel sometimes we're just in the analysis paralysis where we have these manifestations come in and then we don't do anything at all with them. And then the opportunities pass us by and then we get into that,
yeah, I can't believe I didn't do that thing.
And then you beat yourself up about it, right? So
limited time offers. Not all opportunities stick around on your schedule.
Yeah. And, being in that high vibration as well counts. I think your emotions and your feelings and everything as you are trying to manifest with all the little things that can get in the way as you're manifesting, even though that's not the conversation for today. I just wanted to mention that.
It's an important note because your emotional state is going to be the filter through which your manifestation is going. So that's why we talked about like the idea of victim mindset at the beginning. a lot of times, like, nobody consciously is like, I want to be a victim,
No.
right? It's more about the perspective of like woe is unto me, the world is out to get me, everyone I meet is a jerk, all I date are jerks.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you doing to change that? Like, maybe practice discernment in the kind of people that you meet,
Yeah.
right? And there's always a way to grow forward in our manifestations, because you have to think about times in your life. You're not just manifesting only positive, blissful things. Whatever you're focusing on the most, visualizing the most, tends to be what then enters the forefront of your mind, and your reticular activating system then tends to give you more, or to recognize more of that thing.
And that, in a sense, is the action that you're taking, is the energy that you're emitting, which is action of something going out into the universe. So whether it's negative or positive, that action, and then even the actions of the choices and decisions that you make according to, what you're feeling in that moment, or where you're focusing your energy, that creates that manifest into something or an experience.
Yeah. And whether that's desirable or undesirable is going to be up to you and your perspective, because here's the trick. A lot of times the path to get to our desirable thing makes us go through a bunch of undesirable things to get to the desirable.
And that's just the reality of it.
And you might feel like, I'm not on the right path. This is too challenging. This is too much effort. And it's like, we don't get to decide necessarily how much or how long a manifestation is going to take, or how much energy it's going to pull from us. We only know that if we stay locked on target and keep going, we'll eventually get there.
Yeah. And the important part when we set intentions is not to put any kind of time constraints or strings or any kind of expectations, right? You just let it go into the universe, and you take that action, doing the thing that you're doing, creating whatever it is that you're trying to create or experience in your life, without stress or worry of when is it coming in. Like, okay, where is it?
I need to manifest a husband by next Tuesday.
Yeah, I need to have a baby by the time I'm 30.
That's a great example.
Right? We put time constraints, age constraints on ourselves.
If
so we
I'm
got to
not making
release those.
$100,000 a year by the age 22, I'm a failure.
Yeah. Like, why?
Like, and it's okay to put some pressure on yourself. Like
goals. That's a different thing.
The whole point of a manifestation isn't just to be like, I'm incapable of having this thing unless I do this. It's about what motivates and inspires you to go for that thing, right? If you want a tried and true methodology that gives you a clear path, a clear picture of what you want, a clear path to how to get there, and then indicators and mile markers for whether you're on the right path or not, then yeah, this 3-step: visualize, recognize opportunity, take action, that will work for you. It's just like Rhea said, not always on your schedule.
Yeah.
It's however long the universe, I don't want to say decides.
No, it's just the process.
It's
Everything
just the
is
process.
coming together.
Yeah.
Right? Things have to happen. Things have to work out. You also have to evolve. You also have to become that version that is in alignment with where you're going and what you're trying to bring into your life.
So almost being, and this sounds strange, detached from the outcome.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is what I've learned. The most effective manifestors completely detach themselves from the outcome. They put the intention out there, they set the wheels in motion, and then they say the chips will fall where they may. And the reason I think that works so much is because you're not putting your negative or positive feelings onto it. You're just letting it be. It's not being pushed or pulled.
Yeah, you're trusting.
Right? And it's just going with the natural flow. And just like the tides will always go out and come back, the sun will always rise and set. You're kind of guaranteed within those cycles that the commitment to your manifestation, the commitment to that target, the commitment to recognizing the opportunities, and the commitment to taking constructive action is going to pay off. It's just a matter of how large is your commitment to that, to what you want.
I love that.
So
you explained that so good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We definitely want to address anyone's questions or comments. So if you have any thoughts on manifestation, the law of attraction, any of the steps, visualizing or opportunity or action, let us know. We are definitely...
Share with us in the comments. And even your own techniques that you use that work for you, because everyone's different. Everyone has their own way of doing it.
Yeah.
Right? And
people build houses in different ways. They live in
Exactly.
different kinds of places, and the ways to design those houses are different. So if you've got your own method that's completely different from ours, or even similar to ours, definitely we'd love to hear about it. We'd share that method in the comments. Or if you have a story about how something worked or even didn't work for you with visualized meditations or manifestation, then yeah, please, we
Share
are
with
always
us.
interested to hear about that, and hopefully, talk about it in further episodes.
And know that you're powerful. Like, you're way powerful than you actually realize. Like, some of us know how powerful we are, but I feel that each and every one of us, we're all made of the same light, the same energy. We're all one. We all have the same kind of manifesting power to experience what we want to experience, and to enjoy the things that we want to enjoy. Like, we are all deserving and worthy of them.
And,
right?
And all capable.
Capable.
We all have the capability to do this work for ourselves, for others that we care about. It's a matter of how much effort do you want to put in to learning it, nurturing it, exercising it, and improving that practice.
And I feel like sometimes the word effort can be a weight that some carry or don't want to like. Not that it's a weight. Efforts, I don't feel like it's a weight, because the effort we put in, or the effort I feel I put in things, I enjoy that effort. Like, I want to put that effort. But sometimes, depending on what experiences you've had and what else you want to experience, maybe you don't want to put the effort. Maybe you feel like you've put a lot of effort in what can we say about that? Because sometimes people are allergic to the word effort, hard work.
Yeah, effort is just energy applied. So it's the strength of your energy, the intensity of your energy in what you're putting into something. Like in physics, effort is literally just, joules of energy used to be expended to make a thing happen, right? So like, even listening to us talk right now is going to require the effort of your attention and your ears. And we appreciate those efforts, by the way. But I think when people think of effort, they think of like hard work, as opposed to effort's just the energy you spend. The feeling of effort, which you might be speaking to, is at the beginning, when you're not sure, when it requires more energy at the beginning to get things started. It feels harder. But when you get good at something, even though you're spending the same amount of energy, it feels like less effort. Because
it feels easier.
You're more locked in, you have the passion. And I think it really comes down to, are you fulfilled by what you're doing? If you're enjoying and are fulfilled by what you're doing, it feels quote unquote effortless. Like our relationship, we both put a lot of effort into each other.
We do,
But because we're so deeply in love, and because we have the strength of our connection, the effort doesn't feel like hard work.
No, not at all.
So if you can break that spell in your mind where effort equals hard work, and rewrite that program to be like, effort equals wisdom from energy spent, hard work is effort without learning the wisdom from putting out that energy. But if you're learning the wisdom and enjoying and feeling fulfilled from the energy you're putting out, then effort begins to feel less like hard work and more like enjoyment.
And then anytime I've ever implemented or like set an intention to do something new in my life where I know I'm going to have to put extra effort and hard work in, I give myself like an adjustment period. And it's kind of like a probation period that a job has for us when we first start a new position, because we have to get accustomed to the company, their rules, and vice versa. They have to get, understand us and kind of work with that energy. So whenever I know I have this period that I have to go through to get used to something and put extra energy and effort in, then just having that knowledge in my mind, I feel helps me that you're going to have to go through like some sort of an adjustment period where, yes, it's going to take effort. It might feel a little bit challenging, but once you get over that, you know, give yourself like 3, 4, even 5 months, you know yourself the best. But if you give yourself that, it works for me just knowing that I have to go through that period.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I'm gonna do this because I know it's not going to feel good, but that's okay because I know it's not going to feel good. So I'm okay going through that.
That's getting outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
and committing to knowing that even though I'm outside my comfort zone, it's going to get less uncomfortable over time. And so, and that in itself is a practice which you have to do a few times to recognize, oh, when I get good at this, it feels less uncomfortable.
Yeah, like when I first started yoga or exercising, I was like, oh, this is going to suck.
Or doing tarot readings on camera.
Oh, yeah. And when I was doing tarot readings first time, I had imposter syndrome. Yeah, definitely.
And it's a real thing.
It's a real thing. And sometimes I get that even now. And it's just, you know, you have to set that aside sometimes. But it's getting you get used to it. You have to keep doing it so the feeling of uncomfort lessens. Sometimes it doesn't go away completely.
No, it's like if you go and exercise, you only had a good workout if you're a little sore.
Yeah.
At the end, if you're too sore, you overworked out. It's not good. If you're not sore at all, it means you probably didn't work hard enough. You want to find that sweet spot.
Yeah.
So when it comes to manifesting, visualizing, recognizing opportunity, taking constructive action, find that sweet spot.
Yeah.
And the best way to find the sweet spot is repetition. Learn what works for you best. Your method is your best method.
Make adjustments along the way.
Yeah,
refine
your methodology, and don't hold on too tightly to any one particular thing, especially if it's not working for you.
Yeah.
It might feel comfortable, but you might outgrow, things that you're doing. So your ways to manifest might change over time. It might stay the same your whole life, but once you find what works best for you, you'll be able to repeat that process, and it gets a little easier each time.
Yeah.
And you're able to dream a little bigger each time because you're like, okay, if that worked, what else is going to work?
And that's the best part, because then anything is
possible.
Possible. Yeah. Anything is available. It was like what I was going to say.
I was like, I'll never meet a woman as amazing as someone like you, unless I go, wait, maybe I'm just that awesome and I deserve someone like that too. Okay, I am going to dream big. And then lo and behold, someone amazing comes into life.
And my belief was, I know he's out there. Oh, I'm going to find him. I'm on a mission to find this guy.
Yep.
This man, this soul.
Mission accomplished.
Yep.
Well, on that note, thank you for spending your morning with me.
Thank you for having me.
And I hope everyone enjoys this podcast on manifestation and the law of attraction. We hope you've gotten some value from the last hour, and we look forward to future upcoming episodes of our podcast.
Yeah, we've got lots of good stuff coming out. So, and we would love to hear from you. And what would you like to hear? What would you like us to talk about?
Yeah, what would you like to hear us talk about? We can go in further. We'll read the comments and get back to as many as we can. And we always appreciate you being with us. So please have a wonderful day. And from us at Sacred Knowledge Living Podcast,
have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here.
All right. Bye for now. Thanks.